I didn't notice her at first. It was late October, that dead part of the evening where the sky looks bruised and the highway feels like it was built for nobody. I was driving back from a job interview that went nowhere. Low on gas, lower on patience, trying to beat the rain. That's when I saw her. She stood on the shoulder like she'd been placed there on purpose. Clean coat, hair tied back, no panic, no frantic waving, just one arm raised, calm, like she'd been hitchhiking her whole life. I should have kept going, but I didn't, because she looked normal, because she looked like someone's mom, because there was nothing else out there except trees and wet asphalt. When I pulled over, she didn't run to the car. She walked, slow, careful, like she was making sure I could see her face. "Thank you," she said, smiling like I'd done her a favor she could repay. Her voice was soft, friendly, and the first thing she asked wasn't my name. It was, "Do you have anyone waiting for you tonight?" I laughed a little because it felt like a weird joke. She didn't laugh back. She just nodded once, like she'd heard the answer she wanted. She gave me directions 5 minutes later. Not to a gas station. Not to a town. "To my house," she said. "It's close. I just need to grab something from the basement. My car broke down earlier. I can pay you for the trouble." I should have said no right there, but she didn't look desperate. She looked prepared. The house was less than a mile off the highway, hidden behind a row of tall trees that swallowed the headlights. No porch light, no other cars, just a narrow driveway and a one-story home sitting too quiet in the dark. When I stopped, she didn't get out immediately. She turned toward me instead. "You're very kind," she said softly. "You don't look like someone who'll be missed right away." That wasn't a compliment. Before I could respond, she stepped out of the car. I should have driven off. Instead, I watched her walk to the front door, unlock it, and turn back toward me. "You can come in," she said. "It'll only take a minute. I don't like going down there alone." She left the door open, and for some reason, that felt worse than if she'd forced me. The air inside smelled wrong, not dirty, not rotten, metallic, like old coins and wet concrete. She didn't turn on the main lights, just a small lamp near the hallway, enough to see the walls, bare, clean, almost staged. No photos, no decorations, no sign that anyone actually lived there. "Basement's this way," she said. I followed. Each step down creaked under my weight, the wood damp and slightly soft. The temperature dropped fast, cold, wrapping around my throat like fingers. Halfway down, I noticed something scratched into the wall beside the stairs. Lines. Dozens of them. Tallies. Some grouped neatly in fives. Others scratched over each other like someone lost count. My stomach tightened. At the bottom, she reached for a hanging light bulb and pulled the chain. The basement lit up in a dull yellow glow. It wasn't storage. It was prepared. Plastic sheets covered sections of the floor. A drain sat in the center. A folding table stood against one wall, stained darker in places. And in the corner, a chair, bolted to the concrete, with leather straps. She watched my face carefully. "You see," she said quietly, stepping behind me. Most of them realized too late. I turned slowly. Too slowly. She was closer than I expected, close enough that I could see the small cuts on her fingers, fresh ones, not accidental. "I always ask the same question," she continued, voice calm. "If someone will come looking, it helps me plan." My heart started hammering so loud I could barely hear her. I took a step back. She took one forward. There was no weapon on her hand. That's what made it worse, because she wasn't afraid of me. "You shouldn't have come inside," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. She tilted her head slightly. "You shouldn't have stopped." The chain on the light bulb swayed slightly, and that's when I heard it, a sound that didn't belong to us, a weak scraping noise. From behind one of the plastic-covered sections of the basement, my blood went cold. She saw me glance toward it, and she smiled wider. "They don't last long once they understand," she whispered. The scraping came again, slow, deliberate, alive. I didn't think. I lunged for the stairs. She moved faster. Her hands locked around my jacket and yanked me backward with a strength that didn't match her size. I hit the concrete hard enough to see white. She didn't scream, didn't panic. She climbed on top of me like this was routine. Her knee pressed into my chest, forcing the air out of my lungs. "You always run," she said almost gently. "They all do." The scraping behind the plastic grew louder. I twisted my head just enough to see it shift. Something was under there, something trying to move. "Help!" I choked out. Her hand slammed over my mouth. "No," she whispered, leaning close enough that I could smell that metallic scent on her breath. "He tried that too." The plastic suddenly lifted a few inches. A hand pushed out from underneath, thin, shaking, fingers raw, nails torn down to the skin. He was still alive. She followed my stare and sighed. "I was going to let him bleed out first," she said. But I don't like keeping them waiting." I did the only thing I could. I bit her, hard. She jerked back just enough for me to twist out from under her knee. I rolled, scrambled, slipped on the plastic as the man's hand clawed blindly at the air beside me. She didn't scream in pain. She laughed, actually laughed. "You fight better than most," she said. I grabbed the loose edge of the plastic sheet and yanked with everything I had. The man underneath wasn't tied. He was broken, leg bent wrong, shirt soaked dark, eyes wide and unfocused, but alive. She rushed me again. I kicked the hanging light bulb. It shattered. The basement dropped into thick, total darkness. I heard her footsteps, close, too close. Then another sound, a wet, desperate struggle, not mine, hers, a choking gasp, a body slamming against concrete. The man must have grabbed her in the dark. I didn't stay to understand. I ran, up the stairs, through the house, out the door. I never looked back. Police found the house empty, basement cleaned, no plastic, no chair, no body, just scratches on the concrete floor, tallies, and one fresh line that hadn't dried yet. I met him through a ride-share app at 2:17 a.m. His profile picture showed a middle-aged man with a tired smile and 5 stars. The name was Victor. No last name. The car listed was a gray van. I almost canceled when I saw the van pull up. It didn't look like a normal ride. No company sticker, no glowing logo, just dark windows and an engine that kept running even after I opened the door. "You Daniel?" he asked. I nodded and got in. The first thing I noticed was the smell. Not alcohol, not cigarettes, something metallic and sweet at the same time, like a hospital trash bin that hadn't been emptied. The back seats were covered in plastic, clear, thick sheets, tucked tight around the cushions. I told myself he just didn't want drunk passengers ruining the upholstery. "You working late?" he asked, eyes on the road. "Yeah." He smiled slightly. "People working late are usually desperate." I didn't respond. We passed my exit. "Hey, you missed." "I know," he said calmly. "Short detour." My phone buzzed. The app still showed the ride active. The route on the screen had changed. Estimated arrival time, 38 minutes. I hadn't requested a long trip. Victor reached into the center console and pulled out a small cooler. I don't just trade rides," he said. "I trade opportunities." He opened the cooler just enough for me to see inside. Clear bags, labeled, ice packs packed tight around them. At first, my brain refused to process it. I saw dark red liquid, tubing, barcodes, medical tags. "You see," he said quietly, merging onto a darker road I didn't recognize. "Some people can't afford to wait on donor lists." My heart started pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. I don't have any money," I said. He laughed, not loud, just a breath through his nose. "I'm not asking for money." The van slowed as we passed a warehouse with no signs. One single light burned over a metal door. "You look healthy. No track marks. No jaundice. You don't smoke, do you?" I didn't answer. He glanced at me. "Kidneys are redundant. You only need one. Most people don't even notice the difference." I grabbed the door handle and pulled. It didn't open. Child lock. "You agreed to the ride," he said. "Terms change when supply meets demand." The app on my phone suddenly froze. Victor's smile faded. "Relax," he whispered. "You'll wake up lighter." The van rolled to a stop behind the warehouse. The metal door opened before the engine even shut off. Two men stepped out wearing dark scrubs and gloves. No masks, no rush, like they'd done this 100 times. Victor turned in his seat and held up a syringe. "Just something to help you sleep." I lunged at him. The van erupted into chaos. My elbow smashed into his jaw. The syringe dropped between the seats. One of the men yanked my door open and grabbed my arm, twisting it so hard I felt something tear in my shoulder. "Hold him down," Victor barked, no more fake calm in his voice. They dragged me out onto cold concrete. I kicked blindly and felt my heel connect with someone's knee. A grunt, a moment of loosened grip. I ran, made it maybe 6 steps before something heavy slammed into my back. My face hit the ground. Teeth cracked. Warm blood filled my mouth. Plastic zip ties bit into my wrists. They lifted me like cargo. As they carried me inside, I saw another van parked in the shadows. Its back doors were open, and inside, someone was already lying on a metal table, moving. The room inside wasn't a hospital. It was worse. Bright construction lights hung from hooks in the ceiling, flooding everything in harsh, white glare. The walls were unfinished concrete. The floor sloped slightly toward a drain in the center. They strapped me to a metal table beside the other one. The person next to me was a woman, early 20s. Her eyes were open, wet with tears. A breathing tube was taped to her mouth, but she was still awake. I could see the incision on her side. It wasn't clean. It was fresh. A tray of instruments sat between us. Not surgical grade. Hardware store tools mixed with scalpels, a bone saw. Victor walked in, adjusting gloves. "Timing is everything," he said. "We can't keep product waiting." The woman's monitor beeped erratically. One of the men pressed down on her shoulder as she started to convulse. Victor looked at me. "You're lucky. We'll take one kidney. Maybe part of your liver if the match is good." I started screaming. He leaned close to my ear. "No one can hear you. And even if they could, missing adults don't trend." The woman next to me started making a wet, choking sound. Her body arched against the straps, heels drumming against the metal. One of the men swore under his breath. "Too much blood loss," he muttered. Victor didn't look surprised. He glanced at a clipboard. "Package what we can." Package. The monitor flatlined. They didn't stop immediately. They kept working for another 30 seconds, like mechanics finishing a job on a totaled car. I turned my head and saw it, an empty space carved into her side, neatly hollowed. My stomach twisted so hard I thought I'd vomit. Victor stepped over to me, annoyed now. "We're behind schedule." He picked up another syringe, bigger this time. I thrashed so violently the table shifted. One of the straps around my wrist tore loose just a little. Not enough to free me, but enough to feel slack. Victor noticed. His hand tightened around my jaw. "You should have just taken the ride home." Footsteps echoed from outside. Then a horn, short, sharp, repeated. Victor froze. "That's not ours." The horn kept blaring, not random, not distant, right outside the warehouse. One of the men ran to the metal door and peeked through a crack, his face drained of color. "Cop car," he whispered. Victor swore. "Kill the lights. Move the stock." Stock. They rushed to the woman's body first, disconnecting wires, throwing a tarp over her. One of them ran toward me with a rag. "Sedate him now." The horn stopped. A voice shouted from outside. "Vehicle matching this plate was flagged. Open up." Victor's eyes locked onto mine, and I saw it. Not fear, calculation. He grabbed the bone saw. "If they come in, you don't exist." The blade roared to life. He went for my abdomen. I twisted with everything I had left. The loosened strap tore free. The saw grazed my side instead of biting deep. White-hot pain exploded through me. The metal door crashed open, shouting, flashlights, guns drawn. Victor bolted for the back exit. I remember hands pressing on my wound, voices telling me to stay awake. I did wake up, in a hospital. One kidney gone. The police said they found 3 vans. Victor was never inside when they cleared the building. My rideshare account was permanently deactivated. Violation of terms.